My name is Clara Bennett. I am 29 years old, and for many years I believed success meant money, luxury, and admiration. I worked as a real estate agent who sold beautiful mansions to the richest people in the city. Every morning I walked into houses filled with glass walls, marble floors, and golden decorations. Clients smiled at me with confidence, and I felt important when they signed contracts worth millions of dollars. From the outside, my life looked perfect. I earned excellent commissions and dressed like a successful businesswoman. People respected me. Some even envied me. But when my workday ended and I returned to my real life, all those feelings disappeared. I went home, not to luxury, but to a small apartment and to a husband I slowly stopped respecting. My husband's name was Daniel Carter. Daniel was a high school literature teacher. He loved books, poetry, and helping young students believe in themselves. He was patient, gentle, and deeply kind. He remembered small things about me, how I liked my tea, which movies made me cry, and how tired I felt after long workdays. He never forgot to ask about my day. Yet none of those things mattered to me at that time. Daniel earned much less money than I did. While I closed deals worth millions, he spent his days grading essays and explaining grammar to teenagers. I began comparing him to the wealthy men I met daily. My clients arrived in luxury cars wearing expensive watches. They spoke about investments, vacations, and private yachts. After spending hours with them, my own life started to feel small. Our apartment suddenly looked old to me. The kitchen felt too narrow. The sofa seemed worn out. Even the quiet neighborhood began to annoy me. Instead of feeling grateful, I felt trapped. Every afternoon, Daniel came to pick me up from work on his old motorbike. It was noisy and outdated, with scratched paint and a broken mirror that he never replaced. When the engine started, it made a loud popping sound that echoed across the street. I could see my coworkers glance through the office windows, watching as I climbed onto that motorbike. They drove sleek BMWs and Audis. I rode home on what I believed was a symbol of failure. Daniel always greeted me with a warm smile. "How was your day, Clara?" he asked, genuine happiness in his eyes. But I rarely answered kindly. Sometimes I simply nodded. Other times I complained about work or stayed silent. Inside me, embarrassment slowly turned into anger. One evening, a wealthy client named Mr. Whitmore saw Daniel waiting outside. He looked at the motorbike and laughed quietly. It was not loud, but I heard it. My cheeks burned with shame. On the ride home that day, I did not speak at all. I stared at the passing buildings and thought, I deserve better than this. The next morning, I finally said what had been growing inside me for months. While drinking coffee at the kitchen table, I told Daniel that I needed a luxury car. I explained that my image mattered in my profession. I told him clients respected appearances. Daniel listened carefully. He opened our bank notebook and studied the numbers for a long time before speaking. "Right now, our finances are tight," he said gently. "Maybe we should wait." His calm answer made me furious. I accused him of lacking ambition. I told him he was satisfied with mediocrity while I worked hard every day to improve our lives. The words came out sharper than I intended, but I did not stop myself. I said things that wounded him deeply. Daniel did not argue. He simply lowered his eyes and continued drinking his coffee. The silence that followed felt heavy, but I ignored it. The next morning, he touched my shoulder before leaving for school. "I will try to make things better," he promised softly. I interpreted his words as ambition finally awakening. I imagined him seeking promotions or higher-paying opportunities. For the first time in weeks, I felt hopeful. That same afternoon, Mr. Whitmore returned to the agency. He arrived in a bright red sports car and handed me a bouquet of expensive flowers. "A successful woman like you should live beautifully," he said with a charming smile. His words stayed in my mind long after he left. I compared my husband to men like him and felt increasingly dissatisfied. That night, Daniel came home very late. His shirt was dusty and he looked exhausted. Instead of asking why he looked so tired, I criticized him. I compared him directly to my wealthy client. My frustration exploded, and in anger, I threw away the dinner I had prepared. Daniel stood quietly, staring at the trash bin. I noticed his hands trembling slightly, but I ignored it. Without eating, he said he had more work to finish and left again on the motorbike. I assumed he returned to school. I never imagined the truth. Days passed. Daniel continued coming home late, often looking tired and pale. I remained absorbed in my own ambitions. I spent evenings browsing luxury magazines and imagining a future filled with designer furniture and expensive vacations. I did not notice how little Daniel slept or how thin he was becoming. Then came the night that changed everything. A violent storm hit the city one Tuesday evening. Rain fell heavily, flooding streets and slowing traffic. I was sitting inside Mr. Whitmore's luxury car on the way to finalize a major property sale. The interior smelled of leather and soft music played quietly. I felt proud, successful, and certain that this world of wealth was where I belonged. As we drove through a dark, flooded road, I noticed a figure ahead, struggling against the rain. A man pushed a motorbike through deep water. He looked small and exhausted beneath the streetlights. When the headlights illuminated his face, my heart froze. It was Daniel. Behind the motorbike seat was a large insulated delivery box. My husband was working as a nighttime delivery driver. He was not staying late at school. He had been working a second job every evening, riding through cold streets in dangerous weather. Suddenly, every complaint I had ever made echoed painfully in my mind. I realized he had not been lazy or unambitious. He had been sacrificing himself silently to fulfill my wishes. "Stop the car!" I shouted before thinking. I ran into the storm, rain soaking my clothes instantly. Daniel struggled to start the motorbike, shivering uncontrollably. When he saw me, his first reaction was concern. "Clara, you'll get sick," he said weakly. Even then, he worried about me instead of himself. He tried to hide the delivery box. With embarrassment in his voice, he explained he was saving money for a car so I could feel proud arriving at work. Hearing those words shattered something inside me. I saw clearly how cruel I had been. The motorbike I hated was carrying the weight of his love. I hugged him tightly while rain mixed with my tears. For the first time, I understood that I had been chasing appearances while ignoring the person who truly cared for me. When his wallet fell into a puddle, I picked it up and found dozens of payment receipts. On one small piece of paper he had written, "For Clara's happiness." That sentence changed my heart forever. We returned home quietly. Daniel developed a high fever from exhaustion and cold rain. Throughout the night, I stayed beside him, holding his hand and listening to his breathing. Our apartment felt different to me now. The walls were simple, but they held years of patience and love. I realized I had spent my days helping strangers find homes while destroying my own marriage. The next morning, I apologized sincerely. I told Daniel I no longer wanted luxury or status. What I wanted was him, healthy, safe, and happy. But apologies were not enough. I needed to act. Over the following weeks, I sold many of my designer handbags and unnecessary luxury items. I saved my commissions instead of chasing new purchases. With that money, I bought Daniel a modern, safe motorbike so he would never again risk his health working late nights. When I gave him the keys, he looked surprised and emotional. I told him he deserved rest after teaching, not endless sacrifice for my vanity. That moment felt like the beginning of a new marriage. 3 months later, life became peaceful. I still worked at the real estate agency and continued selling expensive homes, but my perspective changed completely. Wealth no longer impressed me the same way. I noticed kindness more than luxury. Each afternoon, I waited near my office window. When I heard the familiar sound of Daniel's motorbike, my heart filled with warmth instead of shame. That sound became a reminder that love was waiting for me outside. I finally understood that happiness does not come from comparison, it comes from appreciation. A mansion can provide comfort, but it cannot replace devotion. Expensive objects shine only for a moment, while genuine love remains during difficult days. Looking back, I realize my anger never truly came from Daniel's income or our apartment. It came from my own insecurity and the dangerous habit of comparing my life to others. Daniel had always been rich in the ways that mattered most: kindness, loyalty, and sacrifice. Today, when I guide clients through magnificent houses, I smile differently. I know that a home is not defined by marble floors or golden decorations. A real home is built by people who choose each other every day. The sound I once hated became the most beautiful sound in my world. It is the sound of love arriving. If this story reminds you to appreciate someone who stands beside you, remember this lesson. The person sharing your struggles today may be the greatest treasure you will ever have. Have you ever realized too late how much someone loved you? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe to Tale Talk English for more life lessons told through simple English. Thank you for listening, and I will see you in the next story.